A very good evening to all. I wholeheartedly welcome you to another episode of Meet My Gems on our YouTube channel, organized by our respected teacher Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal. Though Dr. Agarwal is fairly well known, I will take this opportunity to highlight his ongoing contribution to the field of legal academia. Dr. Agarwal resigned from West Bengal Judicial Service to devote his entire life to the teaching of law. He is founding faculty member of West Bengal NUJS Kolkata and also the visiting faculty member of National Judicial Academy Bhopal, as well as West Bengal Judicial Academy Kolkata. Currently, he is head of the department of the law section of Hooghly Mohsin College. He is also the chief editor of Global Journal of Juridical Sciences, which is a peer-reviewed journal and referred journal. He has also written several books on law of adoption, law of limitation, law of company law, and others. Before proceeding to the next phase, I would like to welcome our dear sir and mentor and request him to enlighten us. Over to you, sir. Sir, kothay?
Sir, mic off.
Okay. Today, the gem which will feature in Meet My Gems of this YouTube channel is Dr. Rajiv Hassan. Dr. Rajiv Hassan is one of my scholars who obtained his PhD degree from the University of Burdwan in 2018. Dr. Hassan qualified NET examination in 2012 and was selected both in the College Service Commission and the Public Service Commission as a law teacher in 2014. Rajiv secured a first rank in the PhD selection list. I am proud of Rajiv.
Rajiv has his own legacy and he is an academician to the core of his heart. I am sure today Rajiv will pour his heart and mind out for the law students of this part of India to motivate them and to inspire them to clear the NET examination, which is a basic eligibility for becoming assistant professor in college and university. It's all yours, Rajiv, today. Welcome to Meet My Gems, this episode of my YouTube channel. Aparna, you may start now. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. Rajiv Hassan, a very warm welcome to you. So, sir, I will start the first question, which is a general question. And I would like to ask, what attracted you to the teaching profession?
A very good evening to Sir, Aparna, and all the viewers. First of all, I'd like to thank Holy Great Allah for all His grace and blessings upon me. Before I go on answering the question you have asked me, I would also like to say a few words about our beloved Sir. Sir, it's really a matter of great prestige and honor for me to be considered as one of your gems. I really do not know whether I deserve it, or is it your unconditional love for me that is doing it all? Thank you, sir. You know, as sir has told, that before joining the Heritage Institution of Hooghly Mohsin College, I was in Surendranath Law College, Kolkata. One of the motivating factors, you know, behind joining this Heritage Institution of Hooghly Mohsin College was the opportunity to work with Sir. Even in our college, when we get free time, we used to hold academic talks. And we learn so many things from him. Believe me, still there are so many things to learn from him. There are so many hearts still to be enlightened by him with his noble thoughts and ideas. Thank you, sir. After qualifying the UGC NET, I got the golden opportunity to pursue my research work under the prestigious University of Bardhaman. And I was lucky enough to come under the supervision of Sir. You know, when I undertook the Herculean task of pursuing research on jurisprudence, I approached Sir, and I was a bit worried. But it was Sir who assured me, who helped me, and he assisted me, shaping my dreams into a reality. And I was awarded the prestigious degree of PhD in the year 2018. Thank you, sir. Without your constant and selfless support and guidance, that would not have been a reality. When I was preparing for NET also, Sir inspired me a lot. His unique techniques of teaching and converting our doubts into easy solutions inspired me a lot. Thank you, sir. Now, coming back to your question, Aparna, that why did I choose teaching profession? You know, this is the only profession in which a person can remain a student for his entire life. A teacher is a student first. In order to be a good teacher, we should be good students first. And once again, I would like to quote Sir over here. Sir used to say every time that I am also a student of law, but my profession is teaching, unquote. So this was the reason for choosing teaching as my profession, so that I can remain a student of law for the entire life.
Thank you, sir, for explaining it so well. Indeed, teaching is a very noble profession, and I totally agree with what you have told about, sir. And I would like to add something, sir, that Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal, he has a very wide-ranging knowledge on various subjects, and this is over and above law. And I find that he has a Shakespeare-like quality. So I would like to quote Dr. Samuel Johnson, who said about Shakespeare, that he saw life fully and he saw it all. So this is, my favorite quote, and I can apply only to sir. And indeed, he has a very wide-ranging knowledge, and that makes his classes very interesting and entertaining. So, sir, I would like to ask you the second question now. As you know that the syllabus of NET is very vast. It has more than 15 subjects. So what is your first-hand plan to grab the entire syllabus?
Yeah, undoubtedly so. The syllabus for NET is a huge syllabus. And recently, many new papers have also been added to the list. Now, what I would suggest that preparation for NET or grabbing the entire syllabus is not an overnight job. The preparation for an examination like NET, it begins with day one of your LLB life. When you are entering the university, when you are entering the college, your institution, your preparation for competitive exams, including NET, begins. And preparation begins from the first day. So, in order to grab the entire syllabus, I would suggest try to study and understand the law from your LLB level itself. In your LLB days, if you have a clear conception on the paper, then it will be easier for you to qualify such exams later on. So like Constitution and Jurisprudence, the papers we have in our first semester, see, these papers are there in NET as well. So if you study Constitutional Law of India, if you study Jurisprudence meticulously in semester 1, then it will not be a big task for you while you are preparing for NET as well, because you have your conception clear in those papers. So that is what I think, that preparation should begin from day 1 of your LLB life. Try to have a clear conception on all the papers, so that later on, when you are facing such examinations, you are not worried about the examination.
Thank you, sir, for explaining it so well. Sir, as you know, many of our viewers are LLB students right now, or LLB aspirants. So, sir, can you please analyze the NET syllabus for us?
See, the syllabus for NET has been recently thoroughly revised, and the pattern of examination has also changed. In our times, we used to have 2 halves, first half and second half. And now there is no gap between first half and second half. Now you have 300 marks, 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 will consist of general studies, teaching aptitude, reasoning, and all. And paper 2 will be on law. There will be questions from law. And for the new papers, for the traditional papers, we know that for the traditional papers, we have books in our hand. Readily, the books are available. Like we have books on Constitution, Jurisprudence, International Law. But the problem is for the new papers. Say, for example, IPR. Now, IPR was not there initially in the syllabus. Now, for IPR, you can follow P. Narayanan, a celebrated work. It is followed widely across the country. For the new paper of comparative federalism, you can follow, there are many books for comparative federalism. You can follow Vishnu and Bhagwan. You can follow K.K. Ghai. You can follow J.C. Johari. You can follow A.C. Kapoor. These are the books. For humanitarian law, that is another point added to that, is that is humanitarian law. For humanitarian law, you can follow Dr. Sujata Verma, a good book. So this is how you will have to prepare for the new papers.
Okay, sir. Coming to the next question, how can we learn and remember important amendments, case laws, important articles in the Constitution of India?
Oh, this is a huge question. This question is basically divided into 3 parts. If I analyze the question itself, that how do we remember the amendments, the case laws, and the articles? So I will have to take one by one. First, we will come to the technique of remembering the recent amendments. Now, we can understand that a constitutional amendment is a very important and interesting thing, because every time the constitution is amended, there is some socio-legal change. Every constitutional amendment brings about some socio-legal changes. Now, if we can remember the change that takes place due to the amendment, then it will be easier for us to remember the amendment and the year also. Say, for example, I am giving you some illustrative case. If we start from, see, there are a number of amendments, but for example only, just to inspire you, I am telling you that if we start from 1976, in the year 1976, the 42nd amendment to the Constitution was made, which is also known as the mini revision of the Constitution. 50 articles stood amended, 9 new articles were inserted, and 2 new parts were also inserted. And we know that preamble got amended in 1976 through this 42nd amendment. Specifically, the words socialist, secular, and integrity were inserted to the preamble. So if you can remember that when preamble was amended, when the words secular, integrity, and socialist were inserted to the preamble, it is 1976 through the 42nd amendment. You will have to relate the social change to the constitutional amendment. Then it will be very easier for you. Say, for example, in the year 1993, the 73rd Amendment to the Constitution of India, that settled the Panchayati Raj system. Then in the year 2002, we had 86th Amendment providing for Article 21 capital A, right to education. Then in the year 2014, we had this NJSC, National Judicial Appointment Commission. That was done through 99th Amendment in the year 2014, though eventually that amendment and the law was struck down by the Supreme Court on 16th October 2015 by a 5-judge constitution bench by 4:1 majority. NJSC Act was held to be unconstitutional, and consequently Article 124 capital A was also struck down. However, if you can remember the social change, it will be easier for us to remember the amendments as well. Now, two more examples can be in the year 2019. We had 103rd Amendment to the Constitution, inserting Article 15 Clause 6 and 16 Clause 6, providing for reservation for economically backward classes. In the year 2016, in the shape of 101st Amendment, we had GST. In the year 2020, in the month of January, in the shape of 104th Amendment, the seats reserved for Anglo-Indian community in Lok Sabha have been removed. So this is how we can remember the amendments. If we are able to remember the social change, we will be able to remember the amendments as well, along with the year. Now comes to the second part of your question, that how to remember the case laws. Now, case laws do play a crucial role in the preparation for any type of competitive examination in our country. See, my suggestion would be over here that try to make a table of relevant case laws for every paper, for Constitution of India, for IPC, for CRPC, for tort, for contract. You should have a table of important case laws. Just to inspire you, if I tell you some case laws that can be made on the constitutional law starting from 1950. All these laws are related to important socio-legal change. These are having tremendous socio-legal impact on our society. Now, if you start from 1950, then the first case, in the table of constitutional laws, the first case can be A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras. AIR 1950 SC 27. The second case can be Ramesh Thapar versus State of Madras. AIR 1950 SC 120. Now, frequently, a question is asked and the question arises in the minds of the aspirant that should we remember the citation part? Should we remember the year in which the case was decided and the page number as well? Now, my suggestion would be when you are preparing for NET, which is a research-based examination. This is not only MCQ type question examination. This is a research-based examination. Now, I am telling you that why remembering page number and citation are necessary. Why it is necessary? This is necessary because when I appeared in NET, there was a question. The question was, যে এই কেসগুলোকে chronologically সাজাতে হবে 1, 2, 3, 4. But there were among 4 cases, out of 4 cases, there were 2 cases which were decided in the same year. Now, say for example, A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, AIR 1950 SC 27, and Ramesh Thapar versus State of Madras, AIR 1950 SC 124. Citation will not be there in the question paper, but these cases will be there. How will you arrange? You will have to কোন কেসটা আগে আসবে, তুমি কোনটাকে আগে রাখবে, যার পেজ নাম্বারটা আগে রেকর্ডেড হয়েছে, যেটা আগে রিপোর্টেড হয়েছে. So A.K. Gopalan will come prior to Ramesh Thapar. So now you can understand why remembering citation is necessary for the NET aspirants. So if you want to remember case laws and along with the citation, you will have to remember year-wise. If we come, then there comes after 1950, there comes State of Madras versus Champakam Dorai Rajan, AIN 1951 SC 226. Then there comes Muhammad Hanif Qureshi versus State of Bihar, AIN 1958 SC 731. Ray Kerala Education Bill, AIN 1958 SC 956. Then we have very famous Golaknath versus State of Punjab, AIN 1967 SC 1643. The very famous doctrine of prospective overruling was propounded in this case. Then comes the historic fundamental rights case, Keshavanand Bharti versus State of Kerala, AIN 1973 SC 1461. Then comes Minerva Mills Limited versus Union of India, AIN 1980 SC 1789. Then comes Unni Krishnan versus State of Andhra Pradesh, AIN 1993 SC 2178. So this is how you will have to remember the case law. If you learn to relate case laws to the social change, you will be able to remember the case laws along with citations as well. And the last part of the question was how to remember the articles. Now articles, we are very much accustomed with articles because we have been studying articles since day one of our LLB life. So in the first semester, we have fundamental rights, part 3. So you will have to keep revising the articles. You will have to read again and again so that a case law gulo, by a amendment gulo, by article gulo, our motto should not be je mukhastho korte hobe. Our motto, jeta sir sob shomoy bolen, should be আত্মস্থ করতে হবে। আমরা যদি এটাকে মুখস্থ না করে যদি আমরা আত্মস্থ করি তাহলে it will come from within. Article 12 state, Article 13 definition of law, Article 14 right to equality, 15 state shall not discriminate among the citizens only on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth, 16 for equal opportunity in public employment, 17 for abolition of untouchability, 18 for titles, 19 for the 6 fundamental basic fundamental freedoms. So this is how আমাদেরকে আত্মস্থ করতে হবে, তাহলে এইগুলো সব পরপর মনে থাকবে। So I think this may be a way of remembering amendments, case laws and articles.
Indeed, sir. As we can see that the syllabus is akin to a behemoth. It is very, very huge, but every journey starts with a single step. And thank you for analyzing the path we can take. So I would like to come to the next question, sir, which is how to learn theoretical subjects like jurisprudence, international law, human rights law. If you can kindly show some light.
Okay, so far jurisprudence is concerned, see jurisprudence in the nostrils of a practicing barrister. But it has never been so, believe me, it has never been so for people like sir and me. We have always found jurisprudence to be very interesting. And I dare to do my PhD on jurisprudence. Rather, we are, sir and me, we are the believers in the statements made by Harold Lasky. उन्होंने क्या कहा कि jurisprudence is the eye of the law. Yes, everything, every law should be understood from a jurisprudential angle. You can remember, sir always used to say that we need to trace the jurisprudential rationale. That means প্রত্যেকটা প্রভিশনের jurisprudential rationaleটা আমাদেরকে বুঝতে হবে। So how can it be stinking in the nostrils of a practicing barrister? Rather, it's the basic and mother law of all the subjects. And we also believe in the statement made by Sir John Salmon. उन्होंने कहा था कि jurisprudence is the first principle of the civil law. We can't imagine a society, a civil society without jurisprudence. Now, for jurisprudence, you know, for NET, the schools portion, that is the concept of law portion, is very important. We need to remember the schools and we need to have on our tips the schools, the jurists or the supporters and their basic proposition. Once again, I would like to suggest you to make a table. See, if you make a table consisting of 3 columns, column number 1, 2 and 3, just write down in the first column, starting from the beginning, chronologically, Natural Law School. Name of the school is Natural Law School. Then in the second column, the supporters. Now, and in the third column, the basic proposition. In the first column, we have natural law school. In the second column, we have the supporters. You know, if we talk about natural law school, the natural law theory or natural law school is divided into 4 phases. Ancient natural law school, medieval natural law school, Renaissance period, and the modern period. Now, if we take one by one, that first is ancient period. Now, in ancient period, we can have jurists from Greece and from Rome. So, Greek period and Roman period. Now, Greece has always been a land of philosophers. In the Greek period, you would find Heraclitus, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. These are the jurists. These are the supporters who supported natural law theory in ancient Greece. Then the Roman period, among the Romans, we have notably Cicero. And then comes the medieval period. In the medieval period, we have the supporters like, we have the supporters like Augustine, then Thomas Aquinas. And in the Renaissance period, we have many jurists. In the Renaissance period, we have Hugo Grotius. We have the trio, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau. We have Immanuel Kant and Hegel. Now coming to the modern period of natural law theory. See, in the modern period of natural law theory, which can again be classified into 19th century natural law and 20th century natural law. In the 19th century natural law, suffered a major setback, especially in England, because a group of jurists, a group of scholars, they started opposing natural law. Prominent among the jurists are David Hume, Jeremy Bentham, John Austin. They vehemently opposed natural law theory. And they came with another theory that we'll discuss later on. So in the 19th century, natural law theory suffered a major setback. But in the 20th century, natural law, we saw that there was a revival of natural law. And it was supported by jurists like Stamler, Koehler, and Professor H.L. Hart. And in 20th century, you know, most importantly, our Indian judiciary has also accepted and acknowledged the principles of natural justice. In the very famous Menka Gandhi versus Union of India and 1978 SC 597, what Justice Bhagwati said, that the procedure by which a person can be deprived of his life or personal liberty must be just, fair, and reasonable, and as per natural justice. So whenever we are talking about justness, fairness, reasonableness, and natural justice, we are referring back to the principles of natural law. So this is natural law school, the supporters, and the basic. Now the basic propositions. See, the basic propositions of natural law school are like law comes from God. Law has a divine origin. Law is based on reason, and there is a very beautiful quote here, that is, natural law is written in the hearts of the mankind through the fingers of nature. Next comes, in the first column, now you write the next school, that is analytical law, that is positive law, or the analytical school. The main supporters, Jeremy Bentham and Austin. Basic proposition, Austin said that law is a command of the sovereign backed or supported by sanction. These jurists, Austin and Jeremy Bentham, they opposed the classical natural law theory. They said that no, law does not come from God. Rather, law comes from the parliament, the appropriate, determinate lawmaking authority, and which is sovereign, according to Austin. Next comes the sociological school, contemporary to analytical school in England. We had sociological school in, we have historical, very sorry, we have historical school in Germany. Historical school is supported by Henry Maine and Sir Savigny. Basic proposition, law is found, not made. Law को ढूंढा जा सकता है, law को बनाया नहीं जा सकता है. Law is already there. Law existed in the society from the very first day. We are just trying to find out the law. Custom is first the law. Law comes from custom. You know, Sir Savigny once said that law grows with the growth, strengthens with the strength of the society, and finally dies away when the society loses its existence. So next comes after the historical school, the sociological school. Country of origin, USA, main supporters, Professor Dean Roscoe. Now, Professor Roscoe also he propounded that the basic proposition will be social engineering theory. He said there are various types of interest in the society, and the interests are conflicting in character. And the task of law is to maintain a balance among the competing interests. Next comes the pure theory of law. Main supporter, all of you know Hans Kelsen, country of origin Austria, and he said that no, law is a normative science. Law, legal theory is pure. It should be kept separate from the influence of all other social sciences like history, sociology, ethics, politics. He said law is a normative science. It is a relation of hierarchy of norms with the Grundnorm at the apex. So if the question is asked, who is associated with Grundnorm theory, from the table itself, you can tell that this is Hans Kelsen. So this is how, by making a table of various schools, the supporters, and their basic proposition, we can remember all these schools, the supporters, and basic proposition as well. Now, just to add one more thing, let's say, for example, realist school. Realist school is divided into two parts, American realism and Scandinavian realism. Supporters of American realism are Frey, Holmes, Frank, and Llewellyn. And in the Scandinavian realism, we find Alf Ross, Axel Hagerstrom, and Karl Olof Kroner. What are the basic propositions? Basic propositions of realist school are law is what judges did. Judges put life into the dead words of law. Life of law has not been logic, it has been experience. Sir Oliver Wendell Holmes said so. Sir Jerome Frank said that certainty of law is a myth. Oftenly, this is asked in NET also, that who said that the certainty of law is a myth? Jerome Frank. So this is how you can remember the schools, the supporters, and the basic propositions. If you make a table consisting of 3 columns, this is how you can remember.
Okay, sir. Sir, should we give equal focus to all subjects, or can we pick and choose our favorite subjects? Because since there are so many subjects, there are bound to be favorites.
See, as there are no optional papers in NET, so all the papers are compulsory. So I think you need to give or have equal focus on all the papers. Every paper is equally important and significant. You can't ignore any of the papers. Definitely, you can choose your favorite.
Yes, sir. That seems to be the
our
common
favorite
sense
papers. You are also at liberty to choose your own favorite papers, but you will have to lay equal stress on all the papers.
Sir, you are a very meticulous student and teacher, but not all aspirants are so organized or so meticulous in their approach to the exam. So do you have any tips for last minute or tips or any last minute strategy to cover the entire syllabus? Because as you said, we cannot leave out anything.
See, thank you for your words. See, I think for an examination like NET or for any other competitive examination, there can be anything called last minute strategy. Rather, it should be replaced with whole life strategy. Time and again, I am saying that your preparation begins with your entrance in the department. जब से तुम डिपार्टमेंट आए हो तब से तुम्हारा प्रिपरेशन शुरू हो गया. There cannot be, we cannot leave anything for our last minute strategy. This rather should be our whole life strategy. Yes, in the last moments, what we can do, we can brush up. We can brush up the papers. একবার আমরা রিভাইজ করতে পারি. কিন্তু যদি মনে করি যে in last 15 days I will study a lot and I will qualify NET, I have some doubt personally. So it should be a whole life strategy.
Okay, sir. That seems a wise decision. So, sir, for scoring maximum marks in the paper so that we can qualify, what paper should we give more emphasis on? Like, surely there are some more important papers. As
I have already said that every paper is equally important, but still I would like to have on your tips the papers which you are acquainted with since day one of LLB: Constitution, Jurisprudence, International Law, Family Laws, Tort, Contract. So the examples given by Sir in tort we can never forget. So if you can, if you are able to remember those examples, and see, Sir also used to say that I am born to give examples. তো এই এক্সাম্পল গুলো যদি আমরা মাথায় রাখতে পারি, see, here comes the role of a mentor. Here comes the role of someone who will always inspire you wherever you are. So this is how the papers you are acquainted with since your day one of LLB: Constitution, Jurisprudence, Tort, Contract, IPC, the relevant sections. There are many date sections as well which are not relevant for NET, but the relevant portions should always be on your tips, along with the decided case law.
Okay, sir. Sir, the first paper is a completely new paper for most of the aspirants. Though they are acquainted with research methodology, which is taught in the last semester of LLM, but about the other data analytical skills and reasoning, numericals, even English. So these are new papers, new subjects for them. So how can a NET aspirant qualify good marks in the first paper?
See, for English, I would say that when someone is completing LLB and LLM in English medium or English version, English is not going to be a big task for them. Apart from, yes, you have rightly said that there are some portions which are already there in our LLM semester 4, particularly in RM portion, that is research methodology portion. There we used to have research methodology, teaching aptitude, and all. But for other portions, I would suggest you to follow some good books. There are many books available in the market, like book written by Dr. Ansari, then Upkar. There is a good book published by Upkar, then by Taxman. These are the books which will help you a lot. And I think, if you keep on practicing the unsolved sets, then you can develop your score in paper 1 as well. You have to keep solving the unsolved papers. Many unsolved sets are available on net as well. You will have to download the unsolved papers, and you will have to keep solving the papers. That would, in my opinion, help you a lot if you keep on solving the unsolved papers.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question is how to solve data interpretation problems faster.
Here also,
practice, but anything else?
Here also, yes, exactly. So here also, I would suggest practice. Practice makes a man perfect. So you keep on practicing the unsolved sets. Of course, after knowing the basic conception, the basic formula, the formula you should know first, then you go on solving the unsolved. Similarly, as law papers also, without going through the definition of offer under section 2A, you can't go on solving MCQs. You go through the Bare Act first, then you go on solving MCQs. See, the MCQs are easily available. What generally people do, they, without going through the text or without going through the bare provisions, they go for solving unsolved. No, I think, in my opinion, that should not be the strategy. You go through the Bare Act first, you go through the relevant text first, then you go on solving the unsolved.
Sir, like any competitive exam, time is of the essence in the NET exam also. So do you have any advice for the aspirants so that they can manage their time well?
Yes, see, managing time is a very crucial factor, because in case of exams which are conducted in written mode, like West Bengal Judicial Service and other examinations, see, time management is very crucial. But for NET, I would say, if you are prepared well, then you will have sufficient time. Believe me, you will have sufficient time, because the question format is in MCQ. You will have some. If you are prepared enough, if you are not confused, if you know the case, the year, the citation, the article specifically, then it's a matter of seconds to answer the question. See, I can share with you, with permission of sir, I am sharing my personal experience with the viewers that when I got qualified in the year 2012, when I was appearing for NET, the center was Calcutta University, and I came all the way from Bosirhat. ভোর 4টার সময় উঠে আমি ফার্স্ট ট্রেন ধরে এসেছিলাম। My center was at Vidyasagar College near College Street. So papers were divided. The exam was divided into two parts: first half and second half. So in the first half we had the paper 1 and law paper 1. Then in the second half we had the paper 3. Then we had 2.5 hours for that. But I, luckily and fortunately, by the blessings of Holy Great Allah, I completed my paper within 1 hour. And I wished to submit my paper. But the invigilator said that no, after 1 year or before 1 hour or before 1 hour, we cannot accept your paper. And I fell asleep. And I woke up in the morning at 4 a.m. And after half an hour or 45 minutes, when I saw that some people are also leaving, then I submitted my paper. So I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you that time, if you are prepared enough, then time is not going to be a factor for NET specifically, because the questions will be in MCQ format. If you are 100% sanguine, you can answer in a fraction of a second.
Okay, sir, that makes a lot of sense. So finally, I would like to ask you that what do you think the role of a mentor should be in any kind of preparation? Whether
undoubtedly.
for NET, UGC NET.
Undoubtedly, the role of a mentor is very crucial. We can't succeed without a mentor. A mentor can be anyone. A mentor can be your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your daughter, anyone. And the special role played by them as a mentor by the teachers. Teachers are the role models. And for me, undoubtedly and strongly, I do believe, and I shall be believing till last breath of my life, I shall be treating Professor Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal sir as my mentor, because he was the person who inspired me a lot in my life. Not only because he was my PhD supervisor, but he is a great person. He simply is beyond any explanation. So role of a mentor is very crucial. And if you have some teacher as your role model or your mentor, then it is always good.
Thank you, sir. I see that you are carrying his legacy forward, and I think you will be a very good mentor to your students also. And thank you. Sir, last question is, do you have any advice for the NET aspirants? I mean, not just you gave so many advices that it was relating to studies, but anything about life in general, any life skills they can, because you know many students may not qualify the first time, they may go into depression. So what will be your take on that?
See, I would just like to say that study well and fight. See, failure, yeah, there will be failure. There will be failure, and failure is the stepping stone to success. Failure should not be taken as a failure. It should rather be considered as your stepping stone to success. And if you fail for once, twice, or thrice, that does not mean that you are not capable of qualifying NET. I think rather you believe in a very simple formula of life, that let others defeat you. You please do not defeat yourself. So you keep on struggling. And during my struggling days, I had sir with me. Really, I am highly thankful to Holy Great Allah that I got sir along with me in my struggling phase of my life. So do not defeat yourself. Let others defeat you. You keep on struggling. Success will be with you. If not today, definitely tomorrow.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really enlightening. And with this, we wrap up the interactive session. And I would like to go back to Sir, Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal, so that he can wrap up the session. Dr.
Thank you,
Agarwal, over
Aparna.
to you.
Thank you, Aparna. Thank you, Rajiv.
Yes, sir.
That was another very nice day on which I came to learn so many things from my students. See, I had always been saying that these interactive sessions with my gems is a learning opportunity not only for the aspirants and for the viewers, but also for me. Now, the way Rajiv delineated the techniques of learning, it's fabulous. I'm sure it will facilitate the learning process for the aspirants. See, I have always said that this potential is within you. Each soul is potentially divine, and education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. Teachers, they just facilitate the process of learning. And as nicely Rajiv was explaining the techniques of imbibing knowledge, ওই যে আত্মস্থ কথাটা ও মনে রেখেছে, এটা আমার খুব ভালো লাগলো শুনে।
Thank you, sir.
তো মুখস্থ না করে আত্মস্থ করো। You have to imbibe things. They must assimilate at your subconscious level. So while writing, the words spontaneously come out of you.
Yes.
And I think Rajiv has successfully implemented that advice of mine in his life. It's very nice to see it. I am really proud of my gem Rajiv in becoming a very successful law teacher. So the viewers, the aspirants, the others who listen to today's interaction, I am sure it will help them a lot in preparing themselves for an examination like NET. NET, as Rajiv rightly said, is something, the preparation of which is your foundation which you build in your LLB, LLM days, at least for the basic subjects. Now, what you can do during preparation is to remove the dust or to just brush up. That is really true, Rajiv. But then, with relation to the new subjects, which were not,
have to look for materials, you'll have to search, you'll have to go through the articles in good journals and cultivate a habit of academics in itself. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you,
Aparna, and thank you, Mohit, for the back office
job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.